Hi there and welcome back to Triplicate, and today we're going to take a look at my VSTi plug-in synthesizer I developed way back now in 2015, which was going to make me my fortune and somehow never did. I'm currently to the point of trying to drum up any interest at all in it, so it's sort of moved from paid synthesizer to donationware to, I guess, freeware now. And the problem with it is, well, there are two problems. The first problem is that, well, Ableton Live and I guess everything else that runs VST has gone over to 64-bit and the Pulsor's 32-bit. Now there's a thing called JBridge, which will sort of, I guess, provide a wrapper on your 32-bit plugin to make it 64-bit. But there is also another problem with the Pulsor, which I will show you. So up to now I've had trouble trying to record the screen into Camtasia and use Live at the same time. So I actually looked into this, and this is simply because they were trying to use the same audio output, and Camtasia uses the default audio output for its audio. Nah, that's wrong. So the method of stopping this conflict is to switch the default audio output to that, which is the external monitor, which is really terrible sound, but I'll switch it back again when I'm actually doing any editing. So now we can fire up Ableton Live. Right, we have here a default performance, so shall we load the Pulsor in, and the Pulsor 64, that's the JBridge, I don't know, encapsulated or whatever you'd call it, version. So we will put this in a MIDI track, that one for instance. Your 30-day trial of the Pulsar has expired. Please visit. Yes, I don't think that website works anymore. So what we're going to try and do is A, compile a 64-bit version of the Pulsar, and B, just knock off all this license stuff altogether, and you're all free to use it. I will make sure there's a downloadable version available. So let us go into the Pulsar code. Okay, so the Pulsar was developed on Visual Studio 2000 and a long time ago on this here Windows 7 desktop machine, which I haven't powered up in quite a long time, at least 3 years. Press the on button. Oh, lights. We have lights. We don't seem to have any video. Squirted deoxytin, and we got them about. Clock battery, and apparently the BIOS setting storage battery absolutely dead. What should make a liar out of me and start up perfectly now? Well, that'll suit me. Okay, and that is as far as it gets. Ah, right, here we go. So, shall we see if it'll work in safe mode? So there it goes, it starts up in safe mode. Visual Studio runs. So will it work in safe mode? I don't see why not. Open project solution. Then to VST. This folder is empty. Okay, so it's the next day. I turn this old Windows 7 machine on and blow me, it's booted up normally. We'll load in the demo one again, see if that yet, there we go. It's playing this time. And build, rebuild solution. Whoops, cannot open source file, plug into it. No such file or directory. So I think this was supposed to be a quick solution. Just switch it over to 64-bit, recompile it and we're done. But it's turning out into being a right pain in the behind. Even with this computer deciding it's going to work today. So I think I am going to abandon that and recompile it on my laptop, which means I'm going to have to rebuild the project for C++ builder. So that will be the rest of this video, and this computer I think can be retired and go, and I won't smack my leg on it every time I sit down anymore. Okay, so I have had a look around on the internet and I cannot find anybody who's doing what I'm trying to do and use C++ builder to create VST plugins. There are people offering kits to make VST plugins in Delphi, which uses the same IDE but is a different language, which I don't want to use. So I'm going to have to figure it out, and I'm going to bring you along. And I have received some, I guess, justified criticism for doing how-to things which aren't really how-to things. It's me trying to figure it out and people trying to copy me making mistakes. So I want to make clear this is just me. I don't know where I'm going or how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to try and figure it out, and at some point I might do a how to use C++ builder to make a VST plugin video when I know how to do it, and I can just say, yeah, do this, do that, do that. Okay, so VST plugin, if you don't know, is a DLL file, a dynamic link library. So we need to create a DLL. Okay, I'll fess up, this is attempt number 3 and I know how to do it now. I've also moved where I'm putting it for housekeeping reasons. So off we go. File, come on, new, other. Right, lots of options. Windows, DLL, dynamic link library. Oh, it was at the top there, wasn't it? Anyway, dynamic library. We do not want any target framework. That's their frameworks. Nope. Multi-thread. I think we get. Oh no, you can have multi-thread. I don't think we want multi-thread. C++. Okay. And appears on the other screen, of course, for some reason. Right. We're not interested in any of that stuff yet. Okay, now let's save that to where we want to work on it. Save project as, and the usual weird thing with Rad Studio. It wants you to save, that's the main file it wants you to save, and then it saves the project file. So we are going to go into this new location I have generated for doing this, Right, so that file is, I'm going to call it lib main.cpp, save. Come on. There we go, that's the pre-compiled header, not that I ever really use the pre-compiled header, and that will be called MMP S3 VST. MMP is just code for Maverick. S3, the Pulsor was S2, and because I'm using a completely different platform, I've called it S3, though it will be functionally the same as the Pulsor. And VST means VST plugin, and it'll want me to save the project file. Save. Okay, so now if we look in that folder, we see main.cpp and the other files we've created. Oh no, because we haven't compiled it, we haven't got any outputs. So now let us project build MMPS3 VST. We're just building whatever options are set up. Success. So if we go back into here, we now have a Win32 debug, and we have an MMPS3 DLL. Good. However, we know we're in Win32, and the aim of this project is to create a 64-bit version, so we will go in here. So this sets up what we're doing. So the build configurations, well, at the minute we don't want to go into bother with debug. We want to go into release. We're going to debug when it doesn't work. And target, well, that's a nuisance. All we get is the option of Windows 32-bit. However, I've looked into this, and if I right click on there, we can add platform. Windows 64-bit. Make selected platform active. Yes, please. There we go. So we're in Windows 64-bit release. So if we go project build, success. Go back here, we should have, yep, a Windows 64 release, and that should have a DLL in. It does. Good. So now we need to try and start incorporating the code from the Pulsor into this DLL, and I will have a look at that and update you. Okay, I have dumped all the source code for the Pulsor into MMP3 VST source folder, and there it all is. And I have added to the project MMPS2 VST. That's going to cause confusion, but I don't want to change the file names because that'll cause even more confusion. So it should now try and compile that as well as this little stub of a main file, and I don't know whether libmain ever gets called. Don't think it does, but we'll leave it. So let's build. There are errors, and what errors does it find? Right, it needs me to add an include path into the plugin interfaces, the VSTi plugin interfaces, which I shall do. Check that it finds these others as well. Okay, so I have now set the path to the plug interfaces include directory. So let's see what we do when we try and build it. Oh, we get 197 errors and 305 warnings. What a joy. And it says expected close bracket in that line. Now there are, just scroll up there, lots of defines, platform dependent defines, and if we go up here there's all sorts of things, including here ball and C. I wonder if I define that it'll work. Anyway, I now have to go and find out how to set up all these conditionals, platform dependent conditionals. So that's probably going to take me a bit of playing around, so I shall do that and give you further updates. Okay, so what have I done? There were incidentally a lot of warnings it produced, and I don't like warnings, and they're mainly language things. That the old Visual C++ was a lot more tolerant of slightly iffy C constructions than this is. So because I don't like warnings in code, I got rid of them. Because incidentally, in the middle of 100 harmless warnings, you might get a warning like function doesn't return a value, which can actually cause your code to fail catastrophically. And unfortunately, a lot of things like that C doesn't flag up as an error when it really is an error. It just flags it up as a warning because the compiler can compile something, so it does. Alright, fair enough, I will just warn you about it. Anyway, ramble over. The big thing was this, which is all these platform defines, and because this SDK was written a long time ago, they're different to what I'm using. Incidentally, it does define ball and C, which is the original version of this Embarcadero. So it's obviously supposed to work with this compiler. Now there probably is a new version which I could download from Steinberg and stick in, which would probably have all the defines here ready for this compiler and this environment. But for now I'm going to try and bodge up what I've got, because if I do that there'll be something else wrong and something else wrong and something else wrong, and I'll end up having to rework the whole thing. So we're going to try with this for now, and if we don't succeed we're going to get a newer version. I may go over to a newer version anyway and even use version 3.5 of the VST, which is the current one, I believe. So, and you see here I had to add that line into there, otherwise it wouldn't compile. Anyway, I've got it so it'll compile. I have a few other things to do before it'll run, but this is good for now. So if I go project build, look down here, There we go. Done successfully. So now we've got to try and do what we need to do to actually get it running. Experience tells me that trying to fire up an untried plugin in something like Ableton Live will just probably lead to the whole thing crashing and having no idea what the problem is. So with the VSTi SDK comes this thing called Mini Host, which just opens the plugin and allows you to do some basic testing. So I have recompiled this with the old C++ builder, and you give it a file name. It's just the way I've got it set up. You give it a file name coded in. Do the Maverick chorus, which was just the chorus out of the Pulsor, which I was giving away as a freebie. And if we run that, there we go, it fires up. So we know our host is up and running. So now we need to try it with well, no, that's in 32-bit mode. So now I will get a 64-bit, compile this at 64-bit, and we'll try that. Okay, so now I have set it to load the 64-bit of the Maverick Chorus plugin. This is made by JBridge Converter Program, which is a neat little thing. I'll leave a link to that. So here we go, let's run that, and it says it won't load that, and that is because we are still in the 32-bit version of the host. So if we activate the 64-bit and run again, and there it goes, it loads it in. So, and you can see at the bottom the JBridge thing adds its own little graphic to it, which is fair enough. So now we want to try this host on our newly compiled Pulsor code. Okay, so here we have our newly compiled plugin. Is the file we're looking for to open as a plugin on here. So let us run plugin main entry not found. Well, I know that because I need to go back into the DLL and export the main entry. In fact, not only do I need to export it, I need to include it in the build of the DLL file. So it lives in VST plug main, so let us add that to our project. Main entry not found. Okay, that's fair enough. I think I need to export it, and I will do that. So the reason it couldn't find the file it wanted to defunction, it wanted to export it, I hadn't compiled it in with the DLL. So that and all the other code for VST, you can see here I have now added them to the project, and I've also created a project group, MMPS3 VST, which includes the DLL and the host, just so I can switch between them very quickly. So if we now go to the DLL, it's active, and compile it. Okay, so that's compiled alright with a few warnings which I'm going to have to live with. So let us go back to the host, the mini host, project, run, and see what happens. And it uses things in common, so it recompiles this, hopefully. Oh, there we go. So it's given us a load of parameters for the synthesizer, which we're happy, and we have a window. Aha. So something wrong there, and I suspect that is to do with the fact that the original Visual C++ compiler version had a resource file with all the bitmaps for the editor in, and I know I don't have that in this, so I will now try and incorporate this in this project and see if we can move forward at that. Okay, so I've tried recompiling, including this resource file, and sadly it can't find afxres.h, and I believe that to be a Visual C++ file, which I don't even have on this computer. So I guess we can't use that resource file, plus the fact all the files point to completely the wrong place. So I shall have to generate a new resource file, which you can do in C++ Builder, and I will get on with that and show you the results. Okay, so I really didn't want to have to reassemble all the resources, and much as I dislike bodged up code, I decided to see if I could just comment out things in this resource file that the compiler didn't like and see if it worked. So you can see I put wombat in there in that line just so I can find places I've mucked things up and get rid of that include. And similarly down at the bottom there's it defines a font there. Don't want that trial version dialog anyway, because we're getting rid of the trial version. So there it is, back in the project, and I have also run parameters, put the host in there, so I don't even have to switch projects now to run this. I can just ask it to run and it is compiled, so it goes straight away and off it goes, and look at that, it all appears. So I will now check that all the controls and what have you and so forth are working correctly, and then I will that's a debug version, make a release version, and we will try it in I guess Ableton Live, see if it actually works. Okay, so here she is. We've loaded up Ableton Live, and let us, here's our synthesizer newly compiled. Let's drop it into a track, and there it appears. And let us fire it up, and we can see it's not using a huge amount of processor power. Again, Camtasia is clouding the issue here. There you see, it doesn't seem to go down appreciably when I turn it off. Well, there it is. We have a working Pulsor at 64 bits, and I guess as you'll see from just looking at the screenshots of the editor window, it looks, I think, pretty unique, and I think it sounds pretty unique. And just going through the sounds again and listening to the little demo pieces, I think it makes some really good sounds. And I do intend to make available a version you can download and use yourself, and hopefully make some good sounds of your own. But I haven't done that quite yet because I want to test what I've got a bit more. So I am going to do another video, and that video will consist of a walk round stroke tutorial of the Pulsor, just a quick one, and I might create some new sounds, make a little piece of music, we'll see. But when I publish that video, I will publish a link to where you can download the Pulsor and try it for yourself. And I realise this is another video with a load of coding in, so the next video on the Pulsor will be a lot more fun. But I was quite pleased. It didn't actually take too much head scratching to get it to build with C++ builder. So for now I think that's it. So hope you've enjoyed listening in the background to some of the demo sounds, and I will finish here and I'll see you next time. So for now it's goodbye from Triplicate. Goodbye.